So more than 100,000 demonstrators emerged today on the streets of Washington, D.C. to protest the election, as President Trump continues to say it was a fraud. There was corruption. The president is certainly within his constitutional rights to say that, and the protesters are exercising their constitutional rights to agree with the president and dissent from the vote. The reason that this was held today, this mass protest, again, north of 100,000 people, a big crew, is because Congress is in the process of certifying the electoral votes, which would mean that Joe Biden would be president when that is completed. They do that on Capitol Hill. It is overseen by Vice President Mike Pence. Now, Mr. Biden will be, and I emphasize the words will be, sworn in as president 2 weeks from today. Nothing is going to stop that. The protesters should know that. Some of them do, some of them don't. But again, the protesters have a right to vent their anger over allegations of fraud in the election. That is a protected right. But early in the afternoon, things began to get out of control. The first thing that happened was President Trump himself gave an address to his supporters outside of the White House. It was pretty much the same thing he has said. The election was stolen from him and the people who voted for him. This was the most egregious bit of treachery, political treachery in history, and the media is corrupt and allowed it to go on. That was the essence of the speech. When it was over, many in the crowd then marched to Capitol Hill en masse. There were a lot of people. The Washington, D.C. authorities, I guess, weren't prepared for that. I don't know how they couldn't be, because that's where the process was going on. Now, inside the Capitol, there were senators and congresspeople together. And some Republican senators and congresspeople were objecting to certain states' electoral votes because they believed there was fraud in those states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia. Okay, so that process is underway. And again, that process is entirely legal under our Constitution. But then the traitors, the seditionists, broke into the nation's capital, overwhelming Capitol Police. Now we have criminals. These are now morphed from protesters to criminals. You can wave the American flag all day long, but this is no different than the social justice people looting and burning buildings. It is no different. Okay, now those people, if they are identified, should go to prison, as should the looters, the arsonists, and the social justice people who hurt civilians and police. They are all criminals. I hope everyone understands that. There is no excuse for this. You do not run a country on mob rule. It's impossible. No matter what your sympathies are, you cannot condone this. And all of us must demand that the federal authorities prosecute those people who broke into the nation's capital. Now, here's the worst part. Now, I'm going to show you some graphic video. If you don't want to see it, tune away. A woman who got into the Capitol somehow, I don't know her name, has not been released, was shot dead. We don't know who shot her. She was a Trump supporter based on apparel, okay? The woman was shot in the neck, taken to the hospital where she died. So, now we have murder, right? This is what happens when mobs take over. We had this in the social justice stuff, and we have it now. This cannot be permitted. So, The woman is a martyr to what? To what? I don't know. Why was she inside the Capitol? Why couldn't she just stay outside and protest outside? Everyone in the world knows that more than 70% of people who voted for Donald Trump believe the election was corrupt. Everyone knows that. You don't have to take it any further. The message is out. Okay, so all of this violence shocks the nation because we live in an age of instant communication. So it's all over TV, it's all over the internet, and of course, and I don't know what the word is, but I will use haters, but that's not strong enough. The haters in the media immediately inflame the situation by blaming Donald Trump for all the violence, just as they blamed Donald Trump for COVID. It was disgusting. Instead of trying to draw back, maybe calm things down on television, okay, maybe get the facts to report to you, no. The Fox News Channel reported responsibly, and I want to compliment Bill Hammer, who was their lead anchor through most of it, okay? You didn't get any histrionics. You didn't get any, well, you got a little hate, but not much. It was tamped down fast on FNC. The rest of them, I mean, I almost got sick to my stomach watching it, I have to tell you. So also watching, along with you, me, and millions of other Americans, was President-elect Biden, who then issued a statement. Roll it.
At this hour, our democracy is under an unprecedented assault, unlike anything we've seen in modern times. An assault on the citadel of liberty, the Capitol itself. An assault on the people's representatives and the Capitol Hill police, sworn to protect them, and the public servants who work at the heart of our republic. An assault on the rule of law like few times we've ever seen it.
I don't have any problem with that statement. Then Mr. Biden went on to directly petition President Trump.
You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege.
And the president did that. Roll it.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
Now, tonight, there is a curfew in Washington, D.C. The National Guard is there to restore order or maintain order. As we went to air live, you're listening to me live right now, the Capitol was being cleared. And the senators and representatives are going to continue the certification of the electoral votes. So that is where we are right now. It is sad, of course, and I'm not going to riddle you with cliches as most of the other broadcasters do. I'm a proud American. I stand up for my country. I love my country. And this was horrible to watch. All right? There's no justification for it. I'll make it again. I'll make it again. There is no difference between those people who went into the Capitol today and the people who looted and rioted and burned and hurt people after George Floyd. They're the same, just on different spectrums. Everyone should understand that. Now the assessment, 10 points. First, President-elect Biden. What he said was correct. He should have made the statement he did. But I would feel, as an American, much more comfortable with Mr. Biden had he made a statement similar when the social justice stuff was happening. He was shy, to say the least, at the Democratic convention. Not one mention of all the pandemonium and destruction caused by criminals after George Floyd. Not one mention by Mr. Biden or any other Democrat. So don't now say that you're so concerned about hooligan protesters. Now, I'm saying that in a general sense. Maybe President-elect Biden has learned his lesson. I doubt it. I think he's an ideological, political guy. What he did today was correct. What he has done in the past does not give me confidence that he is a strong leader. President Trump, enough. We got it. I sympathize. When Attorney General Barr said there was corruption in the election, but it didn't rise to an overturn of the vote, my question was, I'd like to know about the corruption, Mr. Attorney General. I'd like to know exactly who did what. Has that been forthcoming? No, it has not. The Justice Department didn't do it, and Congress will not do it. That is horrible. A horrible dereliction of duty. And you are right to be angry about it, Mr. President Trump. But enough. We got it. More than 70% of those who voted for you believe the election was rigged. The point is there. Unless the Supreme Court steps in, nothing is going to happen, and unless there's overwhelming evidence of fraud which the Justice Department has not produced, nor has Congress, Ted Cruz or any of the guys supporting you, Mr. President, nor have your own lawyers. I mean very serious, demonstrable evidence. Joe Biden's going to be president in 2 weeks. Accept it, because you're tearing the nation apart. We're going to get to Georgia in a minute, but President Trump did not help the Republicans in Georgia. He did not. And I'll explain that coming up. So, Mr. President, with all due respect and with sympathy, because I do believe that you got hammered in that election. And I want to know, and if President-elect Biden were really interested in all the people of the United States, he would order a federal investigation of the entire election to find out what happened, exactly what happened, and to send the corruptors to prison if there is evidence to do that. And that's the truth. But no more. Got 2 weeks in the White House, Mr. President. Go out. You don't have to concede. You don't have to show up at the inaugural. In fact, that would not be a good thing for the country. Be polite to the Bidens. Have breakfast with them on the day of the inauguration, as the Obamas did with you. Give him some advice that you'd like to give him, and then leave. Certainly you can run again if you choose to. Get 70 more million people voted for you. But enough of this now. Not good for the country. Not good for anybody. Think of the dead woman. Vice President Pence. So President Trump, unfortunately, tweets out, quote, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones they were asked to previously certify. Mike Pence does not have the power to do that. Only the Supreme Court does. All right? The Vice President of the United States, according to our Constitution, is a facilitator. All right? He presents the arguments about certifying or not certifying the electoral votes. He doesn't make unilateral decisions about what happens in the states. That has never happened. It never will happen. It is clearly unconstitutional. No vice president would have that kind of power. It is up to the House of Representatives and the Senate to block the certification of electoral votes from Pennsylvania or anywhere else by majority vote. If the majority vote to block, it gets blocked. That's how the Constitution works. So Pence did his job. And he's been very loyal to Donald Trump, and he did not deserve that tweet from Mr. Trump. I know the president's upset, but you've got to bring some kind of discipline, Mr. President, to the last couple of weeks. The violators, the people who broke into the Capitol, now have besmirched the whole thing. So whereby there was some high ground in the sense that the Attorney General admitted there was corruption in the election. I don't think he'd lie. Now, he didn't want to deal with it. That's true. He quit. He's not there. But he said there was. But now, because of the break into the Capitol, all that high ground is gone. And you guys who did that are at the same level of the looters, anarchists, mob rule people. So Americans are not going to sympathize. You lost the high ground of protest. It was a valid protest. Those media people who say it wasn't are lying, and they're evil. They are evil. I mean, I'm watching it today. I'm just going, what are these people? And AT&T is allowing this on CNN. I'll never do anything with AT&T again. Disney too. Forget it. You're allowing this? And you would think that if you're going to have some kook blaming people for criminal behavior, that you'd have somebody else on to counter it. No. It was so disgusting I had to turn it off after 5 minutes. That's how bad it was. But you violators, you people who defiled our Congress today, no excuse. I give you a hard time. If I was a federal judge, you do hard time in a federal prison. All right. America is in the middle of a civil war, the second civil war. I've covered this for the last 4 years. It was a cultural civil war. Now it's a political civil war. There's no doubt about it. All right? It's not a shooting war except for that woman who's dead. For her, it was a shooting war. But the level of violence and the potential for violence is growing. That means that all of the politicians, Biden, Trump, everybody else, got to bring it down. Now, you can't expect the media to do that because they're savages. They're absolute savages. On the network news, CNN, MSNBC, you know. I don't have to tell you. You know. But responsible people, we have to bring it down. Or there's going to be more people dead. And we can't have it. You got to take a strong arm approach, President-elect Biden? Do it. Do it. I didn't think Donald Trump took a strong enough approach on the looters and the arsonists after George Floyd, because you knew the locals weren't going to prosecute him, and they didn't. But the feds could have, and they didn't. They should have. We got to stop this. And the way you stop it is to punish people who create anarchy, who break the law. They are criminals, seditionists. They are traitors. The person who breaks into the bodega and steals from the working class people just trying to get by under the guise of social justice is a traitor to this country. Just as a person is who carries an American flag, breaks the window in a Capitol and goes inside. You're traitors. Let's see if I have anything else I want to say here. 90% of us are loyal Americans, even the people I disagree with. The haters, I don't think, are loyal Americans. So maybe the number is 80% of us, 75%. There's a lot of haters out there. Tonight, you're going to see it. I mean, if you watch this and then you watch others, you look at the Hollywood people. Oh, I can't even tell you. They're haters. They just hate. All right? It's not a crime to hate, but it's a moral. In my religion, it's a mortal sin. Hate all over the place. Responsible leaders are going to bring it down. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say tonight, and I appreciate you watching us, and I hope you respect our coverage. You don't have to agree with it. I want you to respect it. Next week, things will calm down. I'm going to make that prediction. I think Donald Trump will pull back. He made his point. It's not going to, the election is not going to be derailed. So next week, the last week of his presidency, full week, I want things to calm down. Clean up what you have to clean up, Mr. Trump. Okay? I would make an address to the country. One final one. I would do that. I hope it's like your State of the Union last January. That was a magnificent speech.